Greetings and salutations, niggas. Now today we have a little something different. I was reading some of my comments, which not gonna lie, I probably shouldn't have. But there was a comment that really stuck out to me. Miles Roberts commented, Beasky Storytimes would go crazy. And shout out to you, Miles, because today we got the first episode of... Now in this series, I'm gonna be talking about some of the craziest times in my life from childhood all the way to current day. So let's get right into episode 1. So this story takes place in my school. I was in 4th grade, and I don't remember much from being in 4th grade, but I remember this day for sure. So when I came in for school, it was around 7:30 probably, and I went to get breakfast from the cafeteria. I dapped up my boys and got to eat my cereal. So when the bell rang, I went to my first period class, and this is where it started. So when I pulled up to class, the teacher had changed the entire seating arrangement. So I found my desk and sat down. But this new seating arrangement put me right in the middle of 4 girls. There was a girl in front of me, a girl behind me, and on both sides of me. So to me, this was a great day. But before I continue, I gotta give y'all a little context on who I was at this point in my life. I was a class clown, or as I call it, an educational comedian. Now, if any of you have been a class clown before, you know there are 2 things that will motivate a class clown to continue clowning. The first one is girls. I don't know what it is, but whenever a girl is present, I will craft some of the most elite jokes to ever exist. And as soon as there's no girls around, I get to acting like this.
Fuck y'all too, lame man.
So when I saw there were 4 girls surrounding me, it was game time. I was made for moments like this. I felt like LeBron in his prime. So I get to cracking jokes and I got these girls damn near falling out of their seat. Mind you, we not getting no work done right now. It's all laughs and giggles. And this is also a win for me. I don't gotta do schoolwork and the girls are having a good time. This is truly
sensational.
And it got to the point where I had the whole class laughing. From seat 1 all the way to the last seat. I had every nigga in that room laughing hard as hell. And this is where the second thing that will influence a class clown comes into play. Cause laughs are like a drug to a class clown. As soon as I hear the smallest giggle, I know I'm doing something right. So the fact that everybody was laughing sent me into a frenzy. And the teacher I had did tell me to be quiet multiple times, but I was so high off the laughs, I could care less what he was talking about. So now first period is over, and I got about half the people in the class crying right now. I even made the teacher laugh a few times. So going to my second period class, I was feeling like MVP of that school. It was crazy. People in other classes were asking us what we were doing in that class that had us laughing so much. And everybody was saying my name. I really felt like a king. The principal could have pulled up on me right then and there. I would have hit him with this.
Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
So now I'm in the second period class, and at this point, I'm the funniest man on earth. And another rule about being a class clown is you really can't stop. Once you start, you gotta keep going until either you run out of jokes, get dethroned, or get kicked out the class. And none of those things had happened to me yet. And to make this worse for the curriculum, we had a substitute teacher. And y'all know when it's a substitute teacher in class, all the rules go out the window. This was practically my class now. So I'm back on my bullshit again. And in this class, I had one of my best friends sitting by me. And y'all know how it is when you got your boy in class. Everything is a joke and nothing is taken serious. The teacher could have said her whole family died in a car crash, and I would look at my friend just like this.
Questions you're asking are what I have just gone over.
So of course, we turned into LeBron and Kyrie with the jokes. He getting saucy with the jokes. I'm dunking some crazy jokes on the class, and we even started throwing lobs to each other so we could finish each other's jokes. But then my friend got taken out of class for being too disruptive. And he a real nigga too, cause the teacher had asked who was talking and he looked at me and then raised his hand and took one for the team. He knew I had a future with this joke shit, so he decided to sacrifice not only his academic future, but also his own class clown ambitions, just so I could stay in the game a little longer and get my stats up. But hey, rest in peace to my dog, man. He didn't die, I just didn't get to see him until the end of class.
All I ask is when you lay your head on that pillow at night, you know I gave you everything I had. I gave you everything.
So now we on to third period, and this is where I had my hardest ISO. So in this class, there was a specific girl who always did her work in class, never talked in class, never laughed in class, and didn't really do anything besides, you know, what she was supposed to be doing. But I seen this as the newest boss I had to defeat, cause normally I just leave her alone. But after the performance I just had in my first 2 periods, there was no way I was gonna be stopped. If I made this girl laugh, this would solidify me as a GOAT. So I'm trying everything I can to make her laugh, and nothing is working. Nothing I can come up with, say, or do is making her laugh, even though most people around us are laughing. So I had to think of something fast, because my reputation was on the line here. And she was looking at me like I wasn't funny or something, which y'all niggas know, that shit is not true. And the class was reading a group book, and we were taking turns reading it. So I volunteered to read, but this was all a setup for me to get her to laugh. And I was desperate at this point because she wasn't laughing at anything. So I decided to sing the words in the book instead of normally saying them. And this is where I finally got her to laugh. And she was laughing hard too. Yes, sir. Welcome to the comedy club, girl. Glad you could finally join us. But this also caused me to get kicked out the class. So now I'm outside the classroom pissed. Not because I got kicked out. That was great. I was pissed because I couldn't continue my comedy show. And in my school, they didn't come get you when the class was over. You just took all your stuff outside, and when the bell rang, you went to your next class. So I'm on the way to my 4th period class now. And before I walked in the door, the girl from my previous class stopped me and thanked me for making her laugh. She said she had never laughed that hard in her life. And I'm not gonna lie, I was the wrong person to tell this to, because now I truly felt unstoppable. No one had ever seen this girl laugh before, and I just made her laugh hard as hell. No one else is putting up these numbers. You could get the funniest person you know and put them up against 4th grade me, them niggas are getting cooked.
Come on, man. That's too easy.
So let's check out the gameplay so far. So first period, I became the undisputed solo MVP. Second period, me and my boy basically won the national joke finals, even though he did suffer an injury. Then third period, I managed to beat the toughest defender in the league. So now it was time for me to secure my Hall of Fame trophy with this 4th period run. So I'm pulling up to my seat, dapping up my homies, giving the light skin face to the girls. And I guess word had got around the school because my English teacher was very unhappy to see me. But the teacher didn't know how
long I've been waiting for this. Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
So as soon as the class starts, she starts teaching.
12 seconds later.
I'm right back to joking and being a terrible student. And it doesn't take long for the teacher to tell me to
Shut the hell up! Shut up! Shut up!
And once again, I had my boy in class sitting right next to me. So as my teacher tells me to quiet down and stop disrupting the class, my friend looks at me with the most devious smile I've ever seen. So of course, this got me intrigued. So he looked at me and dared me to tell the teacher no. Now this was a big task. Normally I just made jokes and try to get people to laugh. I was disruptive, but I was never gonna disrespect the teacher. And this teacher was my favorite one too. But see, what my friend did was say this loud enough so everyone else could hear besides the teacher. So now everyone is staring at me, waiting to see what I'ma do. And at this point, I am insanely high and probably overdosing on the amount of laughs and girls I've gotten today. So I looked around me and saw that these mere mortals were waiting for their joke god to deliver one of the biggest moments in 4th grade history. And originally, I wasn't gonna do it, but I saw one person in the crowd that I couldn't let down. The girl from last period who never laughed was staring me in my soul. So I knew I couldn't let her and my fellow audience members down. So I looked back into my friend's eye, shook his hand, and the next joke I made, the teacher told me to be quiet again or I'm getting sent to the principal's office. And I stood up out of my chair, looked around me, then I looked right back at the teacher and said no. And this sent the classroom into shock. Half the class was laughing their asses off and the other half had their mouths wide open. So the teacher stops presenting and goes to her desk. And she didn't say a word to me, which kind of scared me. But the amount of laughs in this class filled my head up to the point where I didn't care about anything. Then she called me to her desk. And when I got there, I was expecting a write-up or maybe being sent to the principal's office. But all she did was point to the door. And this is where I saw the scariest thing in my life. My dad was standing in the window of the door, belt already in hand. Now to give you some context on my dad, he is not going to miss work. We weren't the richest people growing up, so he took his job very seriously, which I really appreciate. Because unlike some of y'all, my dad was actually in my life. But I knew that if he was here and not at his job, something monumental was about to happen. So I had a few options here. I could act like I didn't see him and go back to my desk, or I could go out there and confront him. And like the smart kid I was, I decided to ignore him and go back to my desk. Hold up. There's one thing my dad always hated. That was parents interrupting a teacher's class. So I knew that he wasn't going to come inside the classroom. So I figured I could just ignore him until the class was over. But then I realized if my friends saw my dad there with the belt, I would lose all credibility because no one had saw my dad yet. So of course I had to come up with a reason to go outside. So I asked the teacher, "Hey, could I use the restroom?" The teacher looks at me, laughs, and says, "Sure, go ahead, take your time." And so I walked my little ass to the door, and I could feel my dad's energy before I even opened the door. I damn near burned my hand on the handle. So I finally opened the door and walked to the restroom. And of course, my dad followed me. And when we got in there, I didn't have to pee, but I pushed out as much as I could. Then I washed my hands, and this is where the final boss battle happened. So my dad looks me in my eye and says,
"What have you been doing today?"
Now, due to this being a boss battle, I had 3 choices to progress in this story mode. I had option 1, which was to tell him I had been disrupting class all day and I disrespected my teacher. Option 2, lie and tell him that I had been doing my work all day. Or option 3, jump into the toilet and flush myself to another city. But he positioned himself right in front of the stall doors, so option 3 wasn't really a viable option. So I'm left with 2 options. I can lie or tell my dad the truth. And because I don't know exactly how much my dad knows at this point, I go with option 2. So this results in him showing me an email from my teacher, but not just one teacher. Every single teacher I have been in class with so far had talked to my dad and told him exactly what I had been doing all day. So he asked me the same question again.
"What have you been doing today?"
And at this point, option 1 is the only thing left to choose. So I tell him everything that I did, and I finished off by telling him what I said to my English teacher. And as you can probably guess, this is where my dad whooped me in my school bathroom. So after that, I'm not even sure where my dad went, he just kind of vanished. But now I gotta deal with going back to class. And y'all saw the day I just had. I couldn't go back to class crying. So I put myself together after looking in the bathroom mirror for a couple minutes and headed back to class. And when I got back to class, of course everybody was asking me why I had been gone for so long and why my eyes were so watery. But luckily for me, before I could start lying my ass off, the teacher calls me to her desk, asks me if I'm okay, gives me a hug, and gives me some candy. I don't know if she knew what happened, but I think she knew and felt bad for me. Cause not gonna lie, I was expecting her to be like, "Oh man." And at this point, I'm feeling pretty broken inside. My whole class just saw me damn near crying, and I felt bad for disrespecting my favorite teacher. What about the other 3 teachers? Yeah, I guess I care about them niggas too. But if y'all thought this was gonna end on me taking the L, you'd be very wrong. There's no way I'm losing the legacy I just built. So I went back to my seat and used the candy to my advantage. They asked me what happened again, and I told them she thought I was so funny, she gave me candy and a hug. And thankfully, them niggas believed me. Yeah, 4th graders are dumb as hell. But hey, I gotta keep my legacy, and I gotta live to tell another joke. I did end up apologizing to my teacher later that day. I did it in secret though, so nobody knew I was talking to the ops. But yeah, that's the story of how I got my ass whooped in 4th grade. And shout out to my English teacher too. She didn't hold a grudge or anything. But that's it for this story time. I'm tired of talking to y'all niggas. Cue my outro music.
F-I-L-A, yeah, yeah.